Homebred terrorist, radical. I received such a profile in 2014. That means I was effective in my dissidency. True dissidency subverts power, is a threat to government, is a threat to the industrial military zones, is a threat to those who wield a certain resource, a certain effective command. Now, true dissidency is not rebelling or shouting your slogans or virtualizing yourselves on the web. If you are engaged in true dissidency, you will know by becoming targeted. Targeted by the governmental powers, targeted by the PSYOPs department, targeted by the dark ops department. Of course, there is intra-dissident competition. There are various groups that are compartmentalized and they have either complementary, concordant, or completely antagonistic agendas towards your own. When you have a vision, and everything starts with a vision, you try to implement it. If that vision stands in contrast to the status quo of power or competing interests of various agendas and groups, then the battle begins. Because if somebody doesn't have a vision or has a borrowed vision, he's either on board with certain groups or not. Now, let it be known that whenever you have that vision, there are certain groups that naturally align with you because they have their own interests. And sometimes you align with various groups, sometimes you drop out of those groups by knowing that your vision is different than what they try to achieve. Some of your visions may be parallel to certain groups' effective visions of their own. However, it is about building a citadel of your own vision and pursuing it through whatever means: magical campaigns, political campaigns, societal, religious campaigns, war for territory, spiritual warfare, and so on and so on. Now, this is an appeal to those who feel disempowered as dissidents. China has a doctrine of total war, and that total war includes Zionism and magical campaigns, Taoistic magicians trained from childhood. And this sector sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Citing one CIA officer, 1950s, when they tried to hire magicians, magic sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. It's a very complex issue with multiple dynamic laws, and depending on the effectiveness of the operator, you may push certain things through, fuck some things up, or you are rendered ineffective. However, it's always worth trying. Apart from engaging in political activities, intel activities, magical activities, educating yourself, cooperating with those groups, that groups, or with yourself, you retain a sense of solitary wolfdom. In other words, if you are working in an organization that is branded as a terrorist organization, what happens? You are very easily caught. Because it is nowadays very easy to catch in a high-tech society or these cells and networks that arm themselves and are exchanging information. They are easily compromised. So the idea of the subversive dissident of the modern era is, first things first, unpredictability. You need to be unpredictable at the same time having a certain vision and having a certain spine and a direction and aim. Because that confuses AI systems, unpredictability. That confuses intelligence, unpredictability. Yet you pursue that vision in this chaos and the various attractive fields. So that is one thing. And the other thing is that there are plenty of people with similar vision to your own. Let's say lone wolf cells all over the globe. Some organize, some don't. Those who don't are undetectable, meaning that even if you're under surveillance, you can bypass the surveillance, you can bypass the targeting, and try to reach whatsoever resources and power you can get to influence anyway. the freedom windows, as I call them. Reach for the gods, reach for the stellar forces, reach for the hells of your mass, as long as it renders you effective in what you want to achieve. So, as I mentioned, it's a multipolar, very sophisticated and advanced battlefield in this territory, because you do not have supreme command or supreme power. That would turn out nasty anyway, one man commanding without checks and balances. So you have multiple agents staged in the field as cells. They don't know about each other. And that's the bonus. If they don't know about each other, if one is caught and demobilized, others are walking towards division. Now, the grand idea is that multiple such terror cells that are individual and don't know about each other are not compromised and they walk towards a similar vision, pursuing it. In such way, they push the project forward while not being compromised, because one is out, the other one pops out, and so on and so on. And in the modern day scenario, such an idea is making you both undetectable until a certain time, unpredictable for most of the time, even if you're profiled, effective if you have a potential and you reach the right resources above and below, and you may walk anonymously because nobody knows what's going on. Even the govs, they have no fucking idea what you're about, and they never will, especially if you have a complex mind. So you establish certain narration fronts, thought, and those narration fronts and insanities and all that protects your own ass. Because if you have multiple tunnel realities, multiple narrations, it will confuse them. You will devour them for breakfast. So my appeal to the dissidents of the new time is to share a common vision, is to walk regardless. You are never disempowered. Even as a howling wolf in chains in prison, you have your mind. If you have your mind, that's the first point to magic and psionics. If you are disenfranchised politically, if you have no power, networks, resources, and all that, there are forces that will readily assist you. And if they find good ideas in you, they will make them an executive. Now, in this weird world invaded by hellish forces, especially in the States right now, with Trump, that thing controlled by hell imp, my current idea is you won't know. But I think some forces found it quite plausible. So, enjoy the years ahead, because it might be quite turbulent for all of us. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. Why am I not playing anonymous or wearing a mask? Because I'm that dissident cell that was scanned and neutralized in their own eyes that likes to speak. And by being overt, I'm right in front of the eyes of those pigs, and they don't even know what's going on. Let's treat it as a form of a perfidy, a mockery. Thank you.